In the first part of our Adapters and Serializers series, we looked at how to use adapters and serializers, the basics of that. In this episode, we're going to look at the basics of how to customize them for your specific use. So one way we can do that is to start from scratch, and not really from scratch. We're starting from the DS.Serializer and DS.Adapter abstract base class. So to extend those, there are certain minimum level that we need to define for the serializer method, and the normalize response method. And we can also do the normalize method, but that's optional. For the adapter, there are a few more that we need to do: find record, create record, update record, delete record, find all, and query. And we can do find many to increase the speed. And remember, as we said from last time, these are not the find record and create record and so on that you find on the store. These are instead finding the URL that we'll use to contact the server when we're doing certain actions. So doing these from scratch, from the abstract base class, is good if you have a really unusual API. But for most of the time, we'll want to start with something a little bit more familiar. And so we can use the RESTAdapter or the JSONAPI adapter, and then either the JSONSerializer, the RESTSerializer, or the JSONAPI serializer. And those are fairly complicated in their internal workings, but they provide a good hierarchy of things to change. So we'll take the JSONSerializer. Here are all the methods that you can change. And for each of these, you're changing a small aspect of how it changes the data. Here are the different categories of methods. So here I've narrowed it down. So for example, serialize X stands for serialize attribute, serialize belongs to. So each of these determines how a certain type of thing is serialized. So serialize belongs to shows us how to serialize a belongs to. And I'll go into more details about a lot of these when we're going over the serializer specifically. So the takeaway from this slide is that each method is a leverage point that strategically interacts with other methods. And they've smartly divided it up, so it's easy to tell where to put what. Of course, the other ones aren't exactly like the JSONSerializer. They're mostly the same, but the API has changed a little bit. So here are the methods that have been added in the REST and JSONAPI serializer. So let's look at the RESTAdapter as well. It has a few more categories, but the basic idea is the same. They interact and they're divided up so that you can tell what each one is doing and you know which one to replace if you have something to change. If you have a different URL for getting the has many, then you'll overwrite find has many. And you can leave everything else the same and it'll work just like you expect it to. What are the differences between the RESTAdapter and the JSONAPI adapter? They are exactly the same in terms of their API, in terms of the things that you can overwrite. Of course, the URL they're spitting out looks quite a bit different. So let's go over quickly what we learned today. We learned that to create a serializer from scratch, you had to create the serialize and normalize response methods on it, and extend from DS.Serializer. To start an adapter from scratch, you had to do these 6 methods. But you can also extend from several other types of adapters and serializers, and this is recommended for all but the weirdest adapters and serializers. So JSONSerializer, these are the methods that you can change, and they're a little bit different in the REST and JSONAPI serializers. And for the RESTAdapter, these are the methods that you can change, that you can overwrite. And the RESTAdapter and JSONAPI adapter have the exact same methods that you can change. In our next episode, we're going to be digging deeper into adapters. I hope to see you then.